Arcanum 3, the Queen. Arcanum 3 pictures a pregnant woman seated on a cube, the one visible side of which is ornamented with 5 eyes and a serpent across the bottom. In her right hand she holds a golden wand, and in her left a hawk, or eagle. The solar disk silhouettes her body as she rests her feet upon a recumbent moon. From the disk radiate 30 shafts, each shaft ending in a silver marriage bell. Immediately above her head, within the solar disk, shine 12 stars. At the top of the card blaze 3 more. Symbolism and philosophy. The sun in this arcanum suggests spiritual illumination, seen but not yet possessed by him who has passed between the mystic pillars of Jachin and Boaz, and is now prepared to begin reading the book of life resting on the lap of the Virgin shown in Arcanum 2. The sun's 30 rays indicate the 30 degrees in each of the 12 zodiacal signs. The 12 stars above the Queen's head symbolize the 12 types of human beings born under the 12 signs of the zodiac. The silver bells at the end of the rays call attention to the symbolism of the marriage sign, Libra. In the tarot, symbols often have a dual meaning. Arcanum 3 signifies 2 marriages. First, that of man's triune spirit, depicted by the 3 stars above the sun, with Mother Nature. Second, the remarriage of his divine soul with God's Spirit. The letter G in the center of the well-known Masonic emblem tells the story of the marriage of our spirit, the compass, to flesh, the square, through the process of generation. The form of the letter G allocated to Arcanum 3 suggests a pregnant abdomen. The woman in Arcanum 3, whom we call the Queen of Heaven, represents the divine soul. Seated on the cube tells us she is fashioning the experiences she gains in the realm of time to carry with her into eternity. In the realm of time, she brings about a union of heaven and earth, immortality and mortality. But the great work of redemption eventually divorces her from this temporary alliance and remarries her to her true spouse, the Spirit of God. The beginning of this work need not await the death of the physical body. In fact, it can start at any time during earth life, whenever we will it so. Arcanum 3 extends the message of Arcanum 2, when the Spirit of God impregnates the Virgin, or divine soul. With his ray of light, she gestates the Prince, who will rule the nations with a rod of iron. In Revelation chapter 17, verse 15, John tells us that the nations correspond to the watery sea of emotional life. The moon governs its tides, and in Arcanum 3, we see the lunar orb placed beneath the feet of the Queen. The feet connect with Arcanum 12 and the watery sign Pisces, signifying our understanding, our spiritual faith. The position of the moon in Arcanum 3 therefore tells us that the emotional factors of our being that bind us in self-love must be brought firmly under control. They must be raised to a spiritual level by the Christ-conscious man-child, to whom our divine soul gives birth as the fruit of her wedding to the Spirit of God. As in Arcania 1 and 2, so in Arcanum 3 we find the cube. In symbolism, the cube represents the square, or plane of matter, raised to the 3rd dimension. It stands for the 3rd dimension, spirit, that man gives to the 2 dimensions of earth life, body and soul. Man adds a new dimension to flesh and blood unknown to the animal. The great work of redemption starts in the sphere of earth. The 5 eyes decorating the cube in Arcanum 3 signify the 5 points of fellowship in Masonry. They also typify the lion's paw grip the master uses to raise the candidate from death to life. Multiplying the 5 eyes by the 4 sides of the cube gives Arcanum 20, representing both divine motherhood and resurrection. The cube has a twofold meaning. It depicts both a cross and an altar. When opened out at the sides, top and bottom, it forms the cross of matter on which the triune spirit crucified itself when it left God. When redemption is completed, the cross is folded up and becomes the altar of devotion and self-sacrifice, which leads us back to the city of New Jerusalem, our rightful abode with the Father. Some tarot versions show a golden serpent encircling the brow of the queen. The cards we use, which were edited by Dr. DeCure, displace this symbol from her brow to the bottom of the cube, where he felt it more properly belongs. True symbolism never uses the serpent as an emblem of spirituality. That would have to be the interpretation if the serpent were golden, as gold is a symbol of the spirit. The serpent symbol has several interpretations, dependent upon the subject matter in view. As a creature of the shadows, it cannot typify the kingdom of light, for it represents the darkness created by man's snakiness and self-sufficiency. It is often used as a symbol of evil. At times, it is used as a symbol of wisdom. But in this respect, it can be used properly only as the wisdom of this world, acquired exclusively through the medium of the five senses. As found in the tarot cards, one word describes it best: sensuousness. In Arcanum 1, the prodigal held the magic wand, symbolizing the mind, at a level even with his chest, which comes under Arcanum 17, the sign Gemini. Gemini is a mental sign, ruled by Mercury, signifying that the prodigal directs his thinking powers upward, seeking help from the kingdom of light. In Arcanum 3, the queen holds the base of the golden wand opposite the generative organs, ruled by the sign Scorpio, indicating, in this case, phallic symbolism. The globe on the upper end of the wand extends to a level opposite the neck, ruled by the sign Taurus. The position of the wand in Arcanum 3 teaches us that we must use our mind to cooperate with God's Spirit. God then helps us to rise above the sensual emotions typified by Scorpio and the tyranny of greed for gain represented by the lower aspect of Taurus. That is, he must go beyond the bread and love expression of life. Scorpio signifies generation. The key word for the higher aspect of Taurus is regeneration. In symbolism, a bird portrays a messenger. The eagle and hawk are mortal enemies of the serpent. Because of their speed and because they often soar towards the sun, they have been traditionally associated with the solar orb, source of life and light. Therefore, in Arcanum 3, the queen holds the hawk in her left or receiving hand to indicate her ready willingness to accept help from the Spirit of God. Astrology. Arcanum 3 corresponds to the sign Libra, ruled by the planet Venus. It signifies art, beauty, indecision, balancing, weighing, marriage, partnerships, open enmity, and war. Human anatomy. Arcanum 3 indicates the kidneys, which filter the urates and other impurities from the blood. The kidneys also carry the waste of metabolism from the body. They are two organs ending in one system of elimination. Together with the bladder, they constitute an inverted triangle, the number 3. It signifies the work of purification. Masonic ritual. Arcanum 3 corresponds to the Master Mason's degree. On its negative side, it speaks of the 3 ruffians who, in their lust for power, slew Hiram Abiff, while on its positive side, it signifies the 3 Masons who found his grave on the slopes of Moriah, the cube of matter. This degree dramatizes the story of the 3 gates to the temple at which H.A. was successively struck by the 3 ruffians, also of the injuries inflicted to his chest, throat, and head, and the 3 instruments used: the 24-inch gauge, the square, and the setting maul. H.A., who portrays the wayward prodigal spirit, bears on his breast the enigmatic letter G. This letter symbolizes the marriage of his triune nature with the fourfold life of earth, where he buried himself in the tomb of matter. From this tomb, only the true master of life can raise him. The Bible. Matthew chapter 3 verse 16 gives a beautiful description of the elevating lesson taught by use of the bird symbol in Arcanum 3. And Jesus, when he was baptized, went up straightway out of the water of emotional life, and lo, the heavens were opened unto him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and lighting upon him. The dove here is used as a substitute for the hawk or eagle, and illustrates well the symbolic employment of birds as messengers of spiritual light. Genesis chapter 2 verse 24 exemplifies one of the key words of Arcanum 3, union. Outwardly, it tells of the marriage of man and woman, personified by Adam and Eve, but inwardly it speaks of the wedding of man's divine soul to the Spirit of God. Revelation chapter 12 verse 1 and 2 gives a remarkable description of Arcanum 3, one of the most specific word pictures in the Bible relating to any of the arcana. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. A careful study of the entire 12th chapter of Revelation in the light of tarot symbols will richly repay the student. It tells in great detail the struggle in each one of us between the powers of light and darkness, between the divine soul and the dragon, or serpent, pictured on the cube of Arcanum 3. Note especially verse 14, which says that the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to be nourished by the messenger of light. And that messenger does indeed nourish us, for it is in the soul that the healing power of God works its greatest miracle when it straightens out the tangled skein of our self-centered desires. Aphorism. Remember then, son of earth, that when you recognize your mortal plight and determine to return to your Father's house, God sends His Spirit to be your constant companion. He will assist you on the royal road which leads to ultimate reunion with Him and the healing of your broken spirit. Key words in correspondence. Arcanum 3. Refer to page 46 in the Royal Road.